How's everyone doing today? I'm just going to check and see if we are on YouTube and LinkedIn. Um, just want to make sure that we're live. But if you've joined, just drop a comment, drop a message. Let me know you're with me here, and let me know what your questions are, what you're kind of walking through this week. Would love to help answer some questions. But I wanted to also talk about um, one of the biggest mistakes that I see business owners who are running their Google Ads accounts, um, one of the biggest reasons why they're having such a difficult time, and just kind of walking through why that is and what you can do to fix it. Um, and so there's a couple things that I wanted to talk about there, and then there was also several questions that the Telegram group pretty much came back with and wanted to chat about. So would love to just kind of talk about these things and walk through these things. I'm just trying to get the link so I can share it. There we go. And just let me know if you're here. Drop a comment. Would love to know where you're tuning in from. I just had someone named Ted in my group who was very active before and then just had to work on getting a job. And now he's back uh, and pretty much saying that he's excited to kind of contribute to the group. I've got a Telegram group where we're actually just about almost 60 members. And so if you have questions and such, you can drop them in there, and the whole group is pretty much helping each other out. Um, and so that's really pretty cool. And so it's a great community, a lot of business owners, PPC professionals, um, people who are looking to get to the next level. Um, and so that's a whole lot of fun. Um, anyway, I wanted to kind of start off talking a little bit about um, ultimately, like I've been auditing several ad accounts for business owners who've been running their ad accounts lately. And it literally was the same issue. So there was one account where um, they've pretty much been around $10,000 of profit for about a whole year and a half. Um, and the business owner just was like, I don't know how to scale. I don't know how to um, ultimately try and make this work and kind of get out of this current state. And so, and really grow. And the search impression share was under 10%. So it's not like the market was capped out. It was something within the ads that was basically preventing them from scaling. And so, um, why I'm kind of bringing this up is because not only did I see the same issue in this account, but in another one, same problem. They don't know the efficacy of their ads. They know that it's working, but they're having trouble really being able to attribute it. And so, sorry, I'm just commenting here just to kind of get the ball rolling. But let me know if you're with me here. And so this same problem is actually pretty prevalent. And it's when you basically use TCPA goals or TROAS goals. Ultimately, what ends up happening is that I can understand from a business perspective, you're saying, hey, I want a target of $30 cost per conversion. And so you would think that Google would then achieve that. But the problem is when you do that, you're basically locking yourself into a finite audience. and basically saying, Google, I only want you to spend if you can predict that a person will convert at $30. And if Google doesn't know, then it won't spend. And so that was actually the issue um, for both of these businesses. They set TCPA restrictions and goals on it, and tried to continue to spend more, and just failed to. And so they were never able to, kind of scale out of that. The other issue, which is a little bit, it's kind of outside of the Google Ads ecosystem, is ultimately the loss of attribution. And so what I was able to do is actually identify that, yes, Google Ads was reporting actually about $6,000, no, I'm sorry, $4,500 of profit. And on their back end, they were actually getting about, it was like 10,500. And so I was able to actually go into their analytics dashboard. It wasn't Google Analytics, it was something else, and be able to identify all of the streams that basically increased while I increased spend and cost within Google Ads, and be able to say, okay, actually all of these other things, they're not getting attributed to Google Ads because of privacy issues, because of all of these other kind of issues that we're living in with attribution. And was able to identify about 45 of the conversions per day were truly organic, but the remaining was all pretty much Google. And so they were coming in through unknown and direct. And so it was actually the fact that they were at about $10,500 of profit minus about 45 conversions. It's a very low average order value of like $8. So it's about $2,400 a week. So they can count on that $2,400 kind of every single week. But really, generally speaking, that's a revenue. Generally speaking, everything else is Google. And so they were never able to put that together. And so what they did is they set these TCPA goals based off of the results that they were seeing in Google Ads, which was basically less than half of what they were truly getting. And so they set these goals based off of looking at Google Ads alone, and restricted themselves to that TCPA goal. And so they were never able to scale out of that. And so the reason why I bring this up is because you have to start thinking about Google Ads as the engine that you essentially used to market, to put your ads out there, but not to use as an attribution tool, as a, essentially, Google reported this, this is what that is, it's because of loss of attribution. That's why we're not getting all that data. And so I think it's important to understand you need to measure the back end of the business and start to see when you increase spend on Google Ads, what happens to all of the other channels. Organic search doesn't just like start working. Direct doesn't just start working. And so, we're flying blind in a lot of ways in 2025, but there's things that you can do to kind of like be able to isolate and identify what is truly working and what is not. And so I say all this to say, like, make sure that when you are ultimately trying to measure the efficacy of your Google Ads or Meta Ads, you're measuring the back end of your business and truly being able to see, okay, this did or didn't have an impact. Since starting with that first client, it's been about 3 weeks, was able to go from $10,500 of profit all the way up to $17,400 of profit in week 3 of working with them. And I basically just used a variation of the feeder strategy, um, where I essentially use actually maximize conversions as the feeder, and then TCPA on the other campaigns. Um, and that literally, almost 70% increase in profit there, within 3 weeks. The goal was to ultimately get to about 2x of the profit. Um, and we're almost there. I pretty much laid it out like it could probably be about 3 months, and that's because the typical conversion lag, so time from first impression to actually a person converting, is about 12.2 days. And so we can test a lot of different things, but we also need to wait for that time period, because 70% of the conversions come in day one, and then 30% come in later. And that's another kind of big misconception within Google Ads, and Meta Ads, and really any sort of platform, is that you're measuring in app. You're also looking at ultimately like trying to optimize these campaigns based off of your cadences versus actually the true cadences of the business, and what the typical conversion lag is. And so a lot of people are optimizing at the wrong times. I actually had a YouTube video on this last week. I'm sorry, actually just yesterday. That just dropped yesterday. And it actually goes over when you should be optimizing your campaigns. And it's based off of conversion volume. And so make sure you go check that out after this video, and take a look at that. It's, I believe, the one where it's Google Ads is changing. So make sure you take a look at that, because if you're optimizing at the wrong times, you're messing up your campaigns before they're even getting started. And also, when you're scaling campaigns, they look bad for a little bit, and then after the conversion lag, they start to perform. And so, this is essential to understand ultimately how the performance is doing. Again, drop a comment. Let me know if you're with me. Drop a comment or question that you have about Google Ads. I wanted to walk through a couple questions that I've gotten within my Telegram group. If you're interested in joining the Telegram group, then just drop a comment and I'll send you a link, and you can talk with other PPC professionals, and ultimately be able to scale and grow. So, okay, so this is the first question that I have. I'm just gonna share it. It is not letting me share. I apologize. I'm newer to using this platform, and so I'm just I'm still kind of working out on figuring out how to use it. Okay, for whatever reason, it's not allowing me to share this this particular comment. But the question is, I have a question on PMax campaigns. I recently started one for lead generation. For the first 2 days, the campaign was spending, and I was getting clicks and impressions. And then after those 2 days till now, it's not spending at all, and there's no impressions or clicks. The campaign status is at bid strategy learning. Is that normal? When will it start again? So there's a couple things that I'm curious about. Like, are you just running Google Ads? Are you running any other campaigns? Did you like essentially have like a search campaign running and then stop that and then start the PMax campaign? Is there Meta or another place where you're advertising? Because that's important to really know if there are people that are coming in to the website through other channels. PMax is really a good remarketing tool, not necessarily like a good top of funnel, really going after traffic kind of tool. And so I think it's just important to note that, you know, you're not really going to get a ton of really true top of funnel good traffic um, from PMAX truly. Typically, I've launched PMAX campaigns. They work for a little bit, maybe 2 to 3 months, if there's nothing else running, and then it pretty much dies. And then that's when you need to start working on a shopping campaign or a search campaign to really go after true top of funnel. I would probably, test, like, if it's e-commerce, test a shopping campaign and alongside of the PMAX campaign, and see if then that will start to help PMAX to spend. Um, the other thing is, like, is it a PMAX full build? Is it a just a feed only? And so those are the kinds of things that you want to kind of see. If you're doing lead gen, then just you know do a search campaign. If you're with me, feel free to drop a comment here. I'm answering questions from my community. And earlier I talked a little bit about, how to basically scale campaigns and what the biggest mistake is for businesses that business owners are making. So another question from the community that I've gotten is, okay, so knowing when to pause keywords, knowing when to pause certain keywords in situations like max clicks, max conversions, bidding strategies. And so this is kind of one of those things of like max clicks, manual CPC, target impression share. Those are basically older bidding strategies that Google is pretty much optimizing for that specific goal of getting clicks, or for target impression share is just getting the amount of uh, you know target impression that you want. And so that's all that is. And so that's all that it's optimizing for. Now, the newer bidding strategies, TCPA, TROAS, um, maximize conversion value and maximize conversions, those are based off of audiences. And so there's a typical conversion lag that takes place, and that those campaigns are bidding on audiences specifically. And so the older bidding strategies like maximize clicks, manual CPC, I would give it about like 2 to 3 days between optimizations. Um, Typically, like doing like for example, a Monday and Thursday are good kind of optimization points for that. And being able to pause keywords and such for that. Now, when you're doing maximize conversions, TCPA, the newer bidding strategies, TROAS or maximize conversions value, that's where you want to take into account the total quantity of conversions that you're actually getting. And so I'll actually share my screen here, and because this is important, and I did go through this on the video that I came out with yesterday, because if you're optimizing these campaigns at the wrong time, it's going to really mess up your overall campaigns. And this is one of the biggest mistakes that I see within the industry. So I'm actually just going to share my screen and share this kind of uh, set of how you need to think about this. All right, let's see. I'm just going to share here. Perfect. Screen. Entire screen. Perfect. Okay. So this is basically a chart of when you're using smart bidding, when you can optimize and how you can kind of start to see your campaigns bounce back from whether it's a start of a campaign or after you make changes. And so it's all based off of conversion volume. Now, again, this only works for the audience-based bidding right here, maximize conversions, TCPA, maximize conversions value, and TROAS. And so just think about this as this is per ad group. And if you're getting less than 30 conversions per week, um, well, in just a specific time period, then it's going to take fairly long for it to ultimately react to the changes. So you're going to see a dip in performance. And so what ends up happening is, you're running smart bidding, you're running something on TCPA, you pause keywords that are essentially like too expensive for your goal, and you pause them, you look back the next day, everything is just worse. And it's because Google has basically entered into a period of fluctuation and trying to relearn based off of it. And so what you're going to want to do is understand, okay, if I've got less than 30 conversions coming through after the change, like say you're about 30 conversions per month, you can expect for the reaction to ultimately be 2 weeks before it starts to optimize again. And so this is super important to understand. If you're getting 50, then it can be anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks. Sorry, 6 hours to 2 weeks. And ultimately, like, it's going to be one of those things of like, you probably should wait about a week or two before you start to see the changes. The next thing is, 100 and 500. If you're getting that many conversions, it can bounce back in as few as 6 hours. So make sure you wait the proper amount of conversions before you start to measure. The other thing with the max clicks and like when to pause campaigns is ultimately looking at the specific attribution and seeing if that keyword that you paused, was it actually the thing that translated to more traffic to the site but didn't end up on the conversion? It was like the first click, and then the second click is the one that ended up converting. You can also have keywords that really perform, they look bad, but they're actually the first click, and that's what's actually getting the users on your website. So when you're optimizing your campaigns, make sure you look at the structure. And if you want this, just let me know, and I'm happy to send you the download. A couple other questions from the community that I've had are, why account performance is performing well in 1 week and then in next week it doesn't perform, and why there's fluctuations like that, and how to get better impression share of campaigns can it impact its campaigns. So when you're kind of looking through that, what's the overall conversion volume? If you've got a low conversion volume, like, less than 30, you're going to have situations where there's a lot of fluctuations. If you're making lots of changes to your campaigns, you're going to see lots of fluctuations with performance. And so also, if you have, you're using like click blockers based off of IPs, make sure you check that, to basically get fraud, traffic away. Then you're going to have to consider and think about removing that, because that can actually hurt your overall clicks and performance. So when there's fluctuations, just kind of step back. Are you making too many changes? And then also look at the overall conversion volume. And that should be able to help start to see, okay, why are there so many fluctuations? And also measure if there's any changes within the website that's happening. A lot of times, business owners or organizations will pretty much change stuff on the website, not tell you. Make sure you check your conversion tracking. That's like one of the first things that you need to do when you're ultimately trying to see if there's what the problem is. So another question that I've gotten is best practices for setting up conversion tracking. Now, I could get into the nitty gritty of different setups and such, but the primary thing is being able to match the conversion tracking with what the true business goals are is the most important thing. So don't optimize for page views, don't optimize for, add to carts. You want to optimize for the thing that and the goal that ultimately the business wants to achieve. Now, if you're working with a business that's like a local business, they have visits, you can't really track that. I mean, technically you can based off of Google's, store visits, map clicks thing. But when you look at that, the repeat rate of that is super high. It's like over 4 in most cases. And so it's just getting a click on the map. And it's really not, I've never seen that actually truly translate to the quantity of traffic that's actually happening. So this is where you would need to start working and kind of measuring like, okay, how many store visits are you getting that from the business, and then ultimately like tracking that in a spreadsheet and tracking kind of Google Ads and calls. You can use Google Voice for tracking phone calls, but I typically like to do CallRail or something else where you can basically say, yes, this was a qualified call, or no, this was not a qualified call. So offline conversion imports are really impactful and really helpful. In being able to set up the proper conversion tracking. So again, but also be aware that you're going to have lost attribution and you're not going to be able to track every single conversion that is there due to the loss of attribution and issues that we're facing here. Okay, so I think that I went through all of the questions. But it was great to be with you guys this morning. Let me know if you've got any questions. Drop a comment below, whether you're, listening to this live or listening to this after the fact, and I'll respond to you. And if you're struggling with Google Ads, Meta Ads, just let me know. This is a weird time. It's a really weird time for marketing, I think. And a lot of people don't understand what these platforms are doing and how they're truly impacting their businesses. And so just make sure that you start to measure the true business goals. And if you can do that as a PPC professional, as a business, then you're going to do well. And don't trust what Google Ads or Meta Ads is reporting alone, because it's only half the story. And so again, thanks so much. Make sure if you're just watching now, go back to the beginning of this video. There's some really good stuff on what the biggest problems are with business owners and them running their campaigns and the biggest issues that I'm seeing. I've seen this. I've audited 2 accounts recently that had this same problem. And so you'll want to make sure you watch that. Anyway, have a great Friday and have a great weekend and have a good one. See you next week.